Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Kathy. I am a second year 4th grade teacher and I teach here in Columbia, Missouri. I decided on my channel I haven't really made any videos dedicated to any like future teachers, any new teachers, mainly because I still am a very new teacher. I'm only in my second year of teaching right now. I feel like I have a little bit of advice to give now that I've been teaching for 2 years. So I kind of made a little list of my top 10 tips to give to my future teachers. If you're watching this video and you are interested in becoming a teacher, I am so happy for you. I am so proud of you because honestly, it's just a profession that I feel like kind of gets a bad rap nowadays. Lots of teachers are quitting left and right, and maybe it's just because they've been in the profession for a long time. They're tired of what's going on with the pandemic, but just to reassure you, I am still loving teaching. I don't have any regrets on becoming a teacher, anything like that. I love it. I've had a really good experience so far, so I wanted to share that with you and just say we need you, and I'm so happy that you have joined and watched this video today. Let's go ahead and just get started. My first tip is caring about your students. Now, this can go into the realm of student relationships. I'm sure you guys hear a lot about student relationships and just having positive relationships with your students. That is honestly the biggest thing that you can practice, that you can do in your classroom, because once you have those relationships down, your students are more willing to get work done for you. Your students are going to respond to you better. They're going to respect you. They're going to love you. They're going to feel safe in the classroom. As long as you are paying attention to them, you ask them questions, you follow up with them. Student relationships doesn't mean just giving them prizes, being nice to them. It's tough love. It's also helping them when they need it, following up on games that they have, things like that. There's so many different ways to have student relationships, and once you get to that point, you'll notice what I'm talking about. One way to have a student relationship that you might not even think of is having routine and structure in your classroom. Kids thrive off routine and structure, and you may not know that, but following your routine every single day, letting them know their schedule before things start, because things that come up unexpectedly, I always go over with my kids at the very beginning during morning meetings so they're not thrown off, so they're not anxious about their day. Be goofy with them, be silly, show them your silly side. They love that. Tip number 2 is set boundaries as a teacher. Now, I know this can be really hard your first year, but if you start off at the very beginning of the year setting those boundaries, you'll get really good at leaving at contract time, or at least 30 minutes after contract time. My max that I stay is an hour maybe, and that's only if I need to really get things done or if my team's meeting after school or something like that. But if you don't set those boundaries, you're gonna get really burnt out really quickly. And so my top tip is get the things done during your plan time if you have that time. Staying isn't going to make your students like you better. Just remember that no one is expecting you to have the most elaborate and most perfect lesson plan at all. My very first year, I went with my curriculum and I differentiated if I need to. I pulled things here and there that could help my students. I never transformed my room into anything. I didn't do any of that stuff, and my kids still learned, my kids still loved me, and I still got to do the things that I love. And at the end of the day, the main thing is that you're gonna be a better spouse, a better teacher, a better mom, a better friend if you take that time to give to yourself. My third tip is reflect on your days. Now, I still do this to this day. Every single day, I take just a few minutes to reflect on things that I could have done better, ways I could have talked to my students better. And this is reflection not just on you, but the way you handled your classroom, or maybe the way you wanted your students to react, because I think a big part of becoming a good teacher is reflecting on what you can do better, but also just what you want to change up. Like, I make mistakes all day long, and maybe I could have given them more time on that project, or maybe I could have set that lesson up a little bit better. Maybe giving my kids more time to have more brain breaks because they're getting antsy. Instead of yelling at them about them being talkative, maybe give them more time to talk. So lots of reflecting, and if my kids aren't getting a lesson that I taught, maybe the next day I try something different or something new so that I know my kids are understanding and getting the best out of their classroom time. Each day is a new day to start over, start fresh. Tip number 4, find your teaching style. So as a teacher, your teaching style is always going to evolve, and that depends on things that work in your classroom, things that don't work, you observing other teachers. Also, that's a great thing to do. If you have the time and the opportunity to observe other teachers, I would recommend that, because you find other methods and other ways to teach and manage your classroom that you might not have thought of. The easiest thing to do is to watch another teacher implement it, see how it works in their classroom, and then try it on your own. And if it doesn't work with your kids, that's totally okay too. Your teaching style will just evolve. It depends on your students you have, the environment that you're working in, all of those good things. My biggest advice on teaching style is just be consistent. If you're trying something, be consistent with it so that your students don't get a different idea every single time. Like if you feel like something is working, stick with it. And at the end of the day, the biggest thing is do what's best for you and do what's best for your classroom. No one's gonna tell you how to teach. You just have to figure things out and figure out what works best for you and your classroom. Tip number 5, it is okay to ask for help. I feel like a lot of first-year teachers or even second-year teachers are afraid to ask for help because they feel like they need to know it all. But guess what? You don't need to know it all. No one knows it all, actually. And so it is okay to ask for help. You have mentor teachers, possibly, if you're a first year or second year teacher. You have your admin to go to. You have your teammates. You have other teachers in the building that have been here for a while. Ask them what they do in certain situations. When you ask questions, you're creating communication with other teachers in the building that you may not have talked to, and they have really good insight. If you just make the time to ask questions, you will be a better teacher for it because 1, you're making those relationships with your teachers. You're wanting to improve on what you're doing. Make mistakes, learn from them, grow from them, and just like I said, reflect on those things. Tip number 6, make the most out of your student teaching time. Now, I got this advice before my student teaching, and I think it was one of the best tips I ever got. Like, you think, oh, it's just my student teaching experience, I have a teacher here that's helping me, but you guys, the biggest tip I have is really soak in that time, because this is the time where you really get to practice your skills and all of those things before you get your own classroom. So you're going to have your own kids in there at some point once your host teacher leaves the classroom. You're going to be practicing that management style. You're going to be implementing different things, and you're going to be dealing with situations with your teacher, your host teacher not there, and this is the perfect time to practice those skills, so when you get into the classroom you feel a little bit more prepared. During student teaching, make relationships with the people in your school. For example, eat lunch with your teammates, reach out to teachers in the building, ask questions around the school, say hi whenever you see teachers in the hallway. Those teachers are going to remember those things. I remember when I was student teaching, I always made sure to say hi to everyone that I saw, all of those things, and I remember I would go to professional development days. You're not getting paid, obviously, but it is a job. So you want to be professional. You want to include yourself in as much as you can. You want to make sure that you're communicating with your host teacher as much as you can, and just making efforts with your students, because it's going to go a long way. And I promise you, the teachers are watching you, they're observing you, and they're looking for those things. Tip number 7 is going along with student teaching, adopt your own management style. Now, I know your host teacher is going to have their own management style, but what I did was take a spin on what they have. Take a little bit of what they use in their classroom, because 1, you don't want to try something completely different from what your host teacher is doing. It can throw the kids off, and then they probably won't respond to you as well if you're using something totally different. Try to adopt what your host teacher has, but also put your own spin on it. So if you want to try something new that you learned about, then try that, but also kind of incorporate what your host teacher is using. And then you're going to get really, really good at managing your own classroom if you get to practice in the classroom. And I know it can be really nerve-wracking trying to find out your own management style while you're student teaching. Be confident in your management style and what you're doing. It can be really powerful for your host teacher to see you actually implementing and being confident in your management style. They're going to really notice those things and compliment you on those. Tip number 8 is practice your interview questions. Now, I know a lot of people told me, I don't practice interview questions, there's no need to do it, I just kind of wing it. But honestly, the reason why I think I got my job so quickly is because I really, really practiced my interview questions. I would say practice maybe 10 questions a day, or maybe 20 to 30 minutes a day. What I did was I created a Google Doc of all of the common teacher questions, and I just put them in a Google Doc. I typed up how I wanted to respond to those questions, and then I basically just kind of read it and practiced it, kind of like rehearsing questions. I try not to memorize them, but after a while, after you practice as much as you do, you'll start to get really confident in your answers. You'll start to get really confident in how you answer, how you want to answer. I also watched some YouTube videos. I just searched up how to answer teacher interview questions or something, and then I got some really good ideas on how to answer, what kind of answers that admin and schools are looking for. And I think one of the biggest things is, if you feel comfortable practicing with someone, it was just really good to have someone in front of me so that I could practice, being in front of someone and getting feedback as well. I get straight to the point when I'm answering questions and not babbling. Also, just making sure that it's in a positive way that I'm answering. Parent communication is super important. Some of the ways that I would do that is through email, through text, through any app the school may be using. I really want to make a positive relationship with those parents, and so I would make sure to compliment students at the very beginning of the year, and also let parents know that I want to work with them and help them so that their student succeeds at home and also at school. So making sure that you're mentioning that you want to communicate, that you want to help each other out. Also mentioning that some parents may like different ways, and I'm really flexible on communicating, whether that's through the phone, through text, through email, whatever the parent needs. Tip number 9 is start the year off strong. And what I mean by that is it can be really exciting, but also it can be really scary at the very beginning of the year because you're still learning your students, you're still learning how to set up your classroom, you're still learning how to manage your classroom. But if you start off strong with your expectations, what you want for your rules, what you want your students to be doing at the beginning of the year, your students are more likely to listen to you for the rest of the year and earn that respect from you if you make those clear expectations that you want. For example, if I want my students to line up single file with their voices off, I need to let them practice that at the beginning of the year, and also just making sure that you're modeling those things. It's really important to model and have your students practice. So for example, if I'm teaching in a first grade classroom and my students don't know what a voice level 1 is, I need to model what that sounds like. Practicing with students, letting them practice what a voice level 1 looks like, so then you can compliment them specifically on how you want things to look. Some expectations that we go over at the very beginning of the year are lining up, transitions, what bathroom breaks look like, what voice levels look like in the classroom. All of that stuff can be modeled by you and then modeled by their peers. And then through that very first week, your students are gonna get really, really good at those things, and then you won't have to revisit them later on in the year. Your students will already have a really good idea of what you want out of them. My very last tip for this video is be flexible. You're gonna have days where things are not gonna go your way, things are not gonna go to schedule because maybe you have a student that's being really disruptive, maybe you have a student that needs extra help, maybe you have a lesson that you need to work on and engage your students more on, or maybe you have a lesson where students need more one-on-one help. Your day is just going to be kind of all over the place. So just be flexible. You may get pulled out of the classroom, your students may get pulled out of the classroom. So as long as you are flexible and that you know that you can wing things, that's the best thing, because I never knew how much I was gonna be winging my lessons, how much I was gonna be winging my days until I became a teacher. Some days your students may not just understand your lesson, or some days your students are not in the mood and you have to figure out what can I do better, or what can I do at the spur of the moment to change my lesson or change the atmosphere. Maybe it's a brain break, maybe it's students need to move around and do more hands-on activities, maybe it's being more engaging, maybe it's partner talks. You're gonna get so much better at winging things and figuring out what your students need as you become more experienced through your days and as your days start to get easier. I remember in my first year, I had such a hard time with time management. I didn't know when things were, I didn't know when we needed to go to specials. I was just so in the spur of the moment, and I would be like, oh my gosh, we have to stop what we're doing and then go to specials. Some days our students honestly just need us to listen to them, so listen to their cues. It's not always the students, sometimes it's us, and so sometimes I have to admit, okay, maybe it's me. It's not just the students that are off. I need to make this more engaging, or I need to make sure that my students are understanding in a different way. That is why I also said it's really important to reflect on your teaching days and just figuring out, how could I make tomorrow or the next day better? The moment you guys have all been waiting for, I'm sure. I hope you guys enjoyed that part of the video, but now I want to make sure that I am giving back to you guys. Thank you all so much for 10K on my channel. I never thought I would get to 10K. It is amazing the number of people that watch my videos, that support me, that engage with me. So thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart. I honestly love you guys so much, and I'm so grateful that I have such a good group here on YouTube. I'm so grateful that I have such a good group that I can share my life with. It is honestly so amazing. I love making YouTube videos for you guys, so thank you so much for just engaging with my videos, commenting, liking, all that good stuff is just helping me grow my channel, and so just thank you guys so much. The two things that you guys will be getting in this giveaway is the beautiful Stanley cup. Now, I don't have the one with the handle. This is a 30-ounce mug, and I will be getting you guys the same exact thing so we can twin, of course. I wanted to make sure that I'm getting something that teachers will actually be able to use, and honestly, This is so nice, so cute, so aesthetic. I love this. I drink it all day long. And then you'll also be getting a day designer planner. This planner is so, so cute. It has everything in it from month to month. There's stickers, and then on the daily sheets, I'll show you guys a quick clip of what's included on that. But you guys will be winning those 2 things out of this giveaway. To enter down below, all you need to do is comment down below when you first started following me here on YouTube so I can read all of those sweet comments. Once you comment that down below, I will pick 1 lucky winner to send this to, so make sure that you are checking your Instagram DM so I can message you there, or I'll message you here on YouTube first so that you can claim your prize. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and good luck with the giveaway.